It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
Yeah, so the first fight that I've taken a bet on is Alexis Davis is fighting Sabina Mazo. I think that's on the undercard.
Yep.
Yeah, so Alexis Davis, people might remember her from when she fought Ronda Rousey, and she kind of got like judo through in about 15 seconds, and then Ronda Rousey just pounded her out very quickly. So people remember her from that, I think. But she's been fighting for a very long time. She's been fighting for about 15 years. And she was last seen in July 2019, where she fought Viviane Araújo, and she lost that. And she's coming off 3 losses. She lost to Jennifer Maia before that, and then Caitlin Chukagian, and then her win before that was Liz Carmouche. So like I said, she's coming back in off a bit of a bit of a layoff, nearly 2 years now, and she's getting up there in age. She's 36, but she's a very experienced fighter. She's very well rounded. She comes forward, she pressures people very well, and she's really durable. The thing that's kind of let her down in her career has been her athleticism mostly, and she tends to wear damage really badly as well. Like, obviously, just watching some of her fights in preparation for this week's card, looking at betting it, the last few fights, she's just been a bloody mess, and you don't see that often in women's fights. So she obviously has a lot of scar tissue. And as she gets older, it's becoming more and more of a factor. And she's fighting Sabina Mazo, she comes out of King's MMA. She's very rangy. She looks, it says that she's only 5'7", but when you look at her fighting, she looks like she's a lot bigger than that. So I don't know if that's wrong. But like I say, she's very rangy. She uses a jab, a jab and a straights really well. She's got a really good kicking game. She's got decent knees. She's got quite a good clinch. You can tell that she's got a decent Muay Thai background. Obviously, training at King's MMA, that's kind of only going to improve. She's got really good straight punches, so I think something that Davis does really lack is head movement, especially as fights go on. And I think with Mazo's really good, she comes forward really well throwing straight punches, and I just think the pressure of Davis isn't, Davis will be there to get hit, and she does have a lack of head movement. She doesn't really bob from side to side. She does come straight forward. So, and another interesting thing about this fight is they're fighting at 135 pounds. So normally they fight at 125 pounds. That's both. That's the usual weight for both fighters. So this is I'm not entirely sure why they're fighting at 135 pounds. Maybe it's just because it's COVID era and preparation. It's a little bit different. But I think that's gonna suit Sabina Mazo, just because she seems to have the bigger frame. She seems naturally like she's going to benefit from that. And like Davis, she's obviously like an athlete, but she's not the same tier athlete as Mazo. She's a little bit flabby, and I just kind of question why she's coming in and fighting at 135 pounds. So Mazo on the money line, she's only 1.5. But digging around and looking at some of the props, I found that you can get Mazo to win inside the distance at 5.75. Now, I did look on Odds Checker and it wouldn't come up, so I don't know if you have a look now if there'll be much. No, there isn't. No, but you can get 5.75 with Poker Stars, so that's a standout price. So Party Poker had it at 5.0, so I imagine quite a few others will have it at 5.0. But Davis hasn't been stopped too much in her career, but just as she gets older, I do think she probably has an advantage on the ground if she can get it there. But in the last few fights, she's not really gone for takedowns too much. And going up to 135 as well, I think that Mazo is going to probably be the stronger fighter. And in the clinch, she's got really good knees. So given her forward pressure and just her lack of head movement and her age, the fact that she's slowing down and that scar tissue that I mentioned early on, I could really just see Mazo making a mess of her face. I do think Davis might be able to keep it close if she can implement a grappling, but just going up to 135, like I say, with her age and her style recently has been to just try and strike and pressure. I just think Mazo's got a very big striking advantage if that's the case. I mentioned the scar tissue that Davis has on her face, and I just think Mazo is capable of stopping her. So if you can get odds of above 5, I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, is there type of finish you're looking at here that you like in particular, or you just think both
just inside
avenues
the
are open?
distance? Yeah, I mean, I think KO is more likely. Like, she does have a decent kicking game, Marzo, and she's, like I say, she's good in the clinch. She's got some decent knees, and Davis kind of just comes straight forward sometimes, and she doesn't have too much head movement, so she could eat a knee. So if you can get the KO at like 8, that would be good. But I just kind of like to cover the submission as well, just in case she hurts her, and then decides to, like sink in a rear naked choke or something like that.
Okay. Second one, mate, you're looking at maybe the most fabulous named fight of all time, Montana De La Rosa versus Mayra Bueno Silva. It's a beautiful sounding fight.
Got good names, yeah. So this is going to be an interesting fight. I do like both girls. I think they're both good fighters. And Montana De La Rosa's, she's had quite a few fights now in the UFC. She's very tough. She's very durable as well. She's had some tough fights herself, and she, a fight with Andrea Ali was pretty tough, and she kept going. And I think she's fought the higher level competition of the two, so she's got that experience edge in the UFC. But she's fought the higher level competition, which I always think is quite important. And she started to develop like decent boxing game as well. Like, she was quite raw early on in her career. Her boxing didn't look very good at all, but she started to develop like just some really sound fundamentals. Like, she's got quite a good jab, she's got a good 1-2, and she also she's quite rangy as well. She fights, with like, she uses her reach very well. She's got really good grappling. She's got good takedowns, and she shows improvements fight to fight as well. You do notice with her there's a constant improvement, and at 26 years old, she's only really going to get better. And she's fighting Mayra Bueno Silva, and she's coming in off a win over Barella. She's got an armbar win over her, and she's also got an armbar win over Gillian Robertson as well a few fights ago. So that is quite impressive, because Robertson is a good striker. He's a good grappler, sorry. But Silva, she's dynamic. She's a very explosive striker. She comes forward, but sometimes she can be quite reckless in her approach. She kind of, she comes forward and throws shots, and she likes to whip these leg kicks in, but she does leave herself like exposed sometimes for the takedown. And when she does get taken down as well, she doesn't really scramble. She's quite happy to accept bottom position and just playing guard. So I do think that the takedowns will be there for De La Rosa. So I feel like this could be quite a close fight. Like I say, with De La Rosa's improvements in the striking and the fact that Silva will she'll accept being in guard. I think that, I just don't really see why Silva's the favourite here. You can get Montana De La Rosa at like 2.2, 2.25. And I think that's really good, because I think she should probably be favoured here. I mean, I wouldn't have her as a massive favourite, but I could see her being like 1.9. Seems quite reasonable to me. So I don't really understand the love for Silva. Maybe people are seeing like her finishes. Bettors do tend to like to kind of lean towards fighters that find finishes. But for me, I like De La Rosa here.
Yeah, well, sorry, Jonas has just joined in, but we'll get him in a second. But yeah, Montana De La Rosa, you can get 2.25 at Bet365 right now. So hopefully by the time this comes out, that'll still be there. But you can kind of tell that 2.25 is quite an outlier compared to the rest of the market. Most of the market got her at 2.1, something around that. Maybe the exchanges, you could get something decent. But yeah, that's how it currently sits at the moment. So yeah, I mean, although I back you up 100% of the time, mate, with your brilliant analysis, when you see things like that in the odds straight away that, one bookmaker's quite far out with their, quite a decent outlier there. Then you can kind of tell that there's definitely a bet there at Bet365, at least at the moment. We'll bring in Jonas. There he is.
What's up? I am sorry about this. I'm a bit late. I did not have an alarm this morning or evening, so I went to bed at 11 a.m. and woke up now.
There you go, mate. It's, you're a pro sports bettor when you have to set an alarm to get up at 9:30 at night, eh?
It's ridiculous. I've been just watching U.S. sports and some tennis in the morning and playing poker.
Yeah, sorry, Ryan's connection's going in and out. So,
okay.
Maybe he's
Hi
here.
guys,
Yeah, mate.
don't know if you can hear me. I'm back again.
Tell you what, you guys are ruining my Thursday because now I'm going to have to do some serious editing after this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. It's worth it. It's worth having this going on. Pedro Munoz versus Jimmy Rivera. I will get the odds up on my screen. They are at Pedro Munoz is the outsider in this one, 2.25, and Jimmy Rivera is at about 1.67, something like that. You can get maybe a little bit. No, it's probably the best odds you can get on him. You can actually get 2.35. It's looking like Pedro Munoz on the exchanges, so some decent odds there. Munoz, think back to 2019, he beat Cody Garbrandt, but then since then, he had a lot of hype behind him. But since then, he's lost 2 in a row, pieced up by Sterling, and went down narrowly to Edgar via split decision. Rivera's form has been a bit up and down lately, losses to Sterling also, and Jan in 2019, but he pulled off a win over Cody Stamann last year. These two, I didn't even know, but they actually fought back in 2015 with Rivera getting the decision victory. And Rivera comes into this one as the betting favourite off the back of that victory. Ryan, mate, I can start with you. How do you think this fight will play out? Do you think it will be mostly on the feet?
Yeah, I think it's likely to be a striking battle, much like the first fight. Like I went back and watched that earlier on today. And it's a really good fight, actually. If you've never seen it before, it's like very back and forth, very exciting. But I see a similar fight here. I don't see too much that's changed, really.
Yeah, I was thinking because Edgar had some success mixing in the takedown against Munoz, so I was wondering whether you think that it might have some times where Rivera maybe tries a takedown.
I mean, possibly. Like in his last fight against Cody Stamann, he was kind of mixing up his takedowns, and even if he kind of just pushes him against the fence, and gets a bit of time, grinding him up against the fence, that's going to be worth a bit in the judge's eyes. It's just obviously Pedro Munoz is experienced grappler. He's got submissions, but yeah, I mean, possibly.
Yeah, your original or your thoughts on this one, Jonas?
I don't really have much to say about this. I just see, for example, that Rivera to win is 166 versus Munoz 225. But on decision, you can get only 2 on Rivera decision, so very unlikely to finish him. And the other guy is 4 at decision, so they seem to be expecting Rivera to just be dominating the match. And Munoz is likelier to finish it inside the distance. But it seems like a fight that's going to go the distance.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the odds, it seems like that's heavily favoured. I looked at it yesterday. I think it was like 130, something like that, for the fight to go the distance. I mean, if we're predicting that the fight will stay on the feet for the most part, how do you think that'll play out, Ryan?
So initially when I saw the odds on this, I liked Pedro Munoz, but then when I looked more into it, I watched both, recent fights of both guys, and I watched a rematch. I think that Jimmy Rivera is very, very good. I forgot how good he was, really, and I think he's got a massive speed and output advantage, and he's in his prime as well. He's 31. He scrambles really well. I think he's physically the stronger guy as well, and he looked really impressive in his last fight. So for me, I think that Pedro Munoz does need to finish, like Jonas said. I think he's kind of going to be heavily reliant on either hurting Rivera really badly and getting like a 10-8 round, or hurting him twice and stealing 2 rounds. Otherwise, I think he just gets outworked by Jimmy Rivera. So that was similar really to the first fight. If you watched it, that's kind of what happened. Is Jimmy Rivera did outwork him, and Munoz did hurt him. He landed a knee, and he landed a big right hand, I think, as well. So I just see it as a similar fight, really, and I think the odds are pretty spot on.
Yeah, I had the exact same reaction. I thought Munoz was too big, and then I did the exact same thing and looked at some fights because I haven't really seen too much of them lately. And yeah, I had the exact same reaction. What did you think, Jonas?
So I'm just basing this. This is something I started doing a bit recently, and that's just looking at how the different bookies are predicting the match to go, and then seeing how it goes in play. So as you can see here, round 1 KO by Munoz is 8.5. Then it's or to finish the submission or KO 8.5 first round 12, and then 19 in round 3. So if you can see like in play that Rivera seems to be dominating the first round, it's likely to lock that up. I think if you can get like 1.4 or maybe even 1.3 on him, it's probably going to be a very good bet. I don't know what you think about that, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. Just I don't know with Munoz, he kind of like I say, he's got that finishing upside, but he's not a guy that gasses terribly either. But he's not super explosive. So I still think like as the fight goes on, he's still capable of finding a finish. But I don't know, to be honest. I just like the way I've looked at this fight is just one to stay away from me. Really, I couldn't really find much value.
Yeah, and I think it's not the most entertaining match to bet on.
Yeah,
like a fight to go the distance. That is 136, and you just think it's going to be one of those grinding matches, just like what's his name again, the Bulldog or Pitbull or whatever he's called, Ricky Simon. Not as crazy as him, but those is not like super entertaining to watch. You just know it's to kind of grind him down. The other guy is not going to do anything, and he's just going to be on top of him for 15 minutes or grinding him up against the fence.
I mean, there's lots of sexual innuendos going on here. This is great. So there's lots of awkward pauses because our connections aren't that great, so it makes it even better. I was going to say, I mean, from my very, very basic analysis, I thought Rivera is probably the more technical fighter and Munoz is a bit more of a brawler. I mean, we saw how that fight went against Cody Garbrandt, so if you're in Munoz's corner, maybe you're saying just try and make this as dirty as possible, because if it's a real technical striking fight, then I think the odds of 2 for Rivera to win by decision look very, very good. But if Munoz really tries to make this quite a crazy kind of fight, then maybe he could catch him with something, because Munoz hasn't been that great at grinding out a decision. So maybe that could be 2 angles maybe people could take, either Rivera by decision or Munoz by knockout, something like that. I mean, Rivera's only been stopped once by a hellacious Moraes. Was it a knee or a kick or something like that?
Yeah, come with a knee, didn't he? I think he was throwing the kick, but I think Rivera was ducking into it, wasn't he? He caught the knee. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of how I saw. Would you agree that he's probably the more technical striker, Rivera?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I think like he's the better combination puncher. He's got the better output. He's technically the better guy. I think with Munoz, you're going to be reliant on a finish.
Yeah. All right. Well, we haven't given too much betting analysis away there. Maybe something to bet live, because it's kind of hard to see value in any of these markets at the moment. So we might as well move on to the main event: Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Ciryl Gane. I'll get the odds up on my screen. You can get Ciryl Gane at 1.4 on the exchanges. That's about the best you can get. And Jairzinho is a little bit of an outlier there at Bet365. You can get as high as 3.25. And you can get a little bit less than that at most of the other bookies. Rozenstruik, I guess, your standard kind of heavyweight fighter with tons of power, kind of similar. I would say he's a pretty reasonably similar fighter to someone like a Derek Lewis maybe, but I think he's maybe a bit more technical, maybe a bit more active than Derek. He could be, similar to the JDS fight. I would have had JDS maybe winning that first round. And then, he just out of nowhere, he can kind of produce. And I think JDS looked dominant in the second round too, but he came back with that KO victory. Only the one loss in his career, which was to Francis Ngannou. Gane, undefeated 7-0, notable wins over Tanner Boser, and last fight against Junior Dos Santos. There's lots of things we can talk about here. Maybe the first talking point I thought of was if we think Rozenstruik could test Garn's chin, because JDS did catch him a couple of times. I would say clean, maybe once or twice. And I would say Rosenstrike probably has a bit more power than JDS, Ryan.
Yeah, I think like JDS in his prime had quite a bit of power, but like as he went on, that seemed to kind of diminish a little bit. And yeah, like we're seeing from Rosenstrike, he's a guy that can hit really hard. Like he dropped Alaski with like a jab, and he's finished guys with jabs before, and that's that's pretty rare even in the heavyweight division. And as we saw last weekend with Blades and Lewis, at heavyweight, it only takes one well-timed shot. So I think if you are looking at betting Rosenstrike, then I think definitely KO is the way to go.
Yeah, he's quite a technical striker, isn't he, Garn? Like he really keeps distance well with his kicks. So you kind of get the feeling that if Rosenstrike does win, especially like over, it's a 5-round fight, then it would most likely be via KO. I can get the method of victory markets, but over to you, Jonas, mate. Your initial thoughts on this one?
This one is going to be a fun one. Like the Derek Lewis fight. I don't know if you guys saw it last weekend, I guess so.
Yeah, we both had Blades by knockout, so it was a bit of a devastating one.
Okay, should have told you to bet Lewis by knockout. No, so what I think is Rosenstrike is going to have insane power. He's the kind of guy like Derek Lewis. I don't know if they're all going to start copying Romero now, just standing there waiting and then exploding when they feel like they're underdogs, or maybe not. Well, they are underdogs, but like less superior in the striking game, I would say. I think, or with Blades, it's different though, because he could just take him down. And he just felt like, if he's going to take me down, I'm going to get in a proper punch. And it's going to be an interesting fight there. I always, in these heavyweights, I feel like I might be a fish, but I tend to just like the underdogs when they are this skilled when it comes to striking. The power that Rosenstrike has is probably only one or maybe two has more power, and that would be Ngannou and possibly Lewis. Rosenstrike just got owned by Ngannou, like most people, but I don't read too much into that. Cyril Gane is good, but who was the last fight again with Cyril Gane?
JDS.
Yeah, and it wasn't very impressive, if I remember correctly. And
he dominated most of the fight. He got caught a few times. But
but if he gets caught like that by Rosenstrike, he's down.
Yeah, he does have a tendency to drop his hands as well. He doesn't cover up too well because he's got like that kind of darting in and out karate style. You kind of see sometimes he backs up without covering himself properly. So against Rosenstrike, who does have power in his hands and is fairly fast as well for heavyweight, that's going to be quite dangerous.
Yeah, I know. I can't see myself betting anything on Cyril Gane, and I'm probably gonna go on something with Biggie Boy. If it's gonna be KO or if it's gonna be one of those early rounds KO, I don't know. I think it's. Do you guys remember if Biggie Boy has gone like any long matches as he's been winning?
He fought Overeem, didn't he?
That Overeem. That's right. Yeah. I was on Biggie Boy for that fight.
I was on Overeem. He
should be. He's probably just got a lot better when it comes to gas tank. Also, being more technical. He seems to really just been 100% dedicating his life to UFC over the past couple of years, and probably has improved a lot. Even though you didn't really get to see much of that in the 20 seconds against Ngannou. But I can't see myself doing anything else than betting Rosenstrike, and I will probably be betting him with the KO.
Yeah, Garn has the thing with Garn though is he's actually attempted or at least gone to the ground a couple times and picked up a few submission victories. So I think when we look at this fight, we think, both fighters like to strike, like that's their primary avenue. But I think if I was in Garn's corner, like I'd be telling him to mix it up as much as possible and maybe throw in a takedown and see if you can get him to the ground. Maybe just try once or twice because you don't want to, gas yourself out trying to get that takedown. But I mean, if he can get Rosenstrike to the ground, we've never seen Rosenstrike on his back. So, and we've seen that Garn's been able to pull off a few submissions. So that was kind of one of the things that I looked at originally, just to Garn by submissions at 6.5. Like, I mean, I don't think those odds are big enough for me to take it, but I thought that was maybe an interesting avenue. Did you guys have a think about whether that Garn might attempt a takedown?
But even if he gets taken down, do you think he's going to be trying to go for a submission, or do you think it's just going to go for ground and pound?
That was the other thing I thought of too. It's not like it's one thing to get him to the ground, isn't it? And it's another thing to attempt a submission.
I do think Garn does have quite a big advantage on the ground, though. Like if you look at some of his past fights, the guy does know what he's doing. Like, is it Rafael Pessoa? I think he got him with an arm triangle. And you can just tell when he's on the ground that he's quite proficient. Whilst with Rosenstrike, we saw him on the ground against Overeem, and even in his fights back in Rising, a Japanese promotion, when he's on his back, he doesn't look too comfortable there. Really, it doesn't look like he really knows what he's doing. But he does have a good gas tank, and he's obviously very strong. So I think that does get him out of some bad situations sometimes. But like Overeem could repeatedly take him down from the clinch in their fight, and and I think Garn at this point is a little bit more explosive and probably has a more explosive takedown. So I think if he wants to, the takedown should be there. Like you say, really, when you see that that's Rosenstrike's big weakness, it would make sense to try and exploit that. But he might think his striking is good enough just to kind of contend with him on the feet, which would probably be a mistake, I think. But I do think there is that potential that he might be able to get him on the ground and possibly find a submission, but like you said, probably want slightly bigger odds than 6.5.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the other thing I wanted to mention was the fact I think JDS caught Rosenstrike with some bloody tough, like big strikes, and he just ate them. Like he never. I think I watched the fight yesterday, and from memory, I don't think he looked rocked at all against JDS, and he copped some big strikes. So even if Garn maybe catches him, he might be able to just take it, and that could be huge if he can just take it and then out of nowhere, give one back from his own arsenal. Like I don't know, that's something else to keep in mind too.
Yeah, I think so, mate. Yeah, even in the Overeem fight as well, he took some massive shots off Overeem, and he just kind of shrugged him off. Didn't even look rocked, but it's just obviously. Ngannou just has kind of next level power, but his chin up until that point looked really good.
So, I mean, do we want to summarize this, guys? Like, are there any bets that you guys have already placed or you're thinking of placing? I'll get the method of victory. I guess that's kind of the angle we might be going with here, either the method of victory markets, especially with interest in the Rosenstrike by KO. You can get best odds here, 4.33 at William Hill. You can get fours. I mean, overall, the bookies have been really slow with getting their odds out for this one. So maybe you're going to have to wait a couple of days. But I'll start with you, Jonas, mate. Is there anything betting-wise here that you might take or have taken?
I haven't taken anything yet, but I'm probably going to go in for anything at 4 or above with KO.
Yeah. Ryan?
And
yeah, similar thoughts. I was looking at placing that 4.33 with William Hill. I just have to find someone with a William Hill account to place it for me. So that's that's the next thing.
There's one fight that I haven't looked too much at the footage, but I've just seen some of the stats, and I know one fighter that hasn't really impressed me is Alex Caceres.
Yeah.
Have you guys looked at that fight?
Who did he just beat? I can't remember. It shocked everyone. He beat some up and comers, didn't he?
Yeah, he beat
Case Hooper.
Yeah, that's right.
But Kevin Kroom, did you see that he also beat Austin Springer with a submission. But I mean, I feel like he is a bit over the hype, Caceres, even though he's looked okay in his last fights. I saw, what's his name again? Kroom. He had a couple of decent wins. He beat Derek Minner in 2018. Derek Minner, if you saw him fight this weekend, that was fucking impressive. That was insane what he managed to put on there. He does seem to where do I say that? He seems to be also like able to be good on the ground, be good on with his hands. I think Caceres is not particularly good on the ground compared to what I'm expecting to see of this guy. Maybe I'm wrong, but to see him priced at close to 3, I'm not going to be able to stay away at least.
But I've not had the time myself with the kids being at home to properly research this fight, but somebody else that is like a long-term winning sports bettor on MMA has like pointed out the same bet. So it's not one that I've looked into, but somebody else that I kind of respect the opinion of has said that Kroom's a good bet. So yeah, I imagine it's a good bet. Where
did you find Kroom at 3s, mate?
I haven't found him at 3s, but close to 3, 280 on Stars and 365, I think.
Yeah, you can get 288 at Skybet if anyone's got a Skybet account.
Oh, my cousin does.
Well, that's like a massive outlier because most bookies have got him around 2.6. I mean, the exchanges is at 2.6. So, yeah, if you've got a Skybet account, you probably, whether you like him or not, it's probably going to be a value play in the end. So, all good. All right, best bets of the weekend then. Ryan, mate, do you want to kick us off? What's your favourite one out of all your picks so far?
I'll just go with Montana De La Rosa, just because that should be easy to get on. Get like 2.2 or above. I think that's a really good bet.
Yeah. Jonas, mate, what do you got? You got Biggie Boy, or what are we doing?
I'm going to go for best like Kevin Kroom because of this other guy also liking him.
Yeah, okay. Kroom at
2.8,
mate? You take 2.8?
Yeah, Bet365 and PokerStars got him at 2.8, so it should be doable.